Hey, deserving listeners. So, Humberto and I are Star Wars fans, as you might be able to tell. And I
don't think
wanted
they can
to,
tell.
I wanted to react to Episode 9, the most recent Star Wars movie, because Humberto and I are massive fans of Star Wars, and we were so looking forward to seeing this movie. We saw it opening night together. I hated this movie, and I haven't watched it since. And so I'm wondering if I didn't give it a chance.
And you
I've heard-
hated it like more than I did. Like I remember.
Yeah. Well, you gave it like a
Reaction.
5 out of 10, and I gave it a 1
Yeah.
out of 10. Maybe it's not that bad. Let's get to it.
The dead speak. I swear when I saw this in the theater, I was like, wait, that was like a rough draft. They kept that in. Like obviously this isn't going to be what we write on the screen, but just roughly this is what we're going to say.
Backstory to this is when the trailer came out and we heard the laughing Palpatine,
Right.
you were very upset. You were like,
I was
no,
so
there's no
upset.
way this is going to work. I don't want Palpatine to come back. That's just so dumb. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, wait, let's wait to see the movie because maybe it'll make logical sense and it'll be like a flashback or something.
Right.
Let's give J.J. Abrams a chance here.
Give him a
And
chance.
then, nope, it was not only what you thought, but it was the worst
Worse.
version of that.
It was.
So I just want to say that from the beginning that this, it starts off pretty good.
This is pretty good.
Kylo Ren is kicking butt, and he's evil. He's gone dark side. I want to actually analyze this movie on a script level. Let's do Episode 4, A New Hope first, and let's watch a little bit more, and then let's look at okay. So you know more about story writing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the first things we want to look at is who are the main characters, right? So I'm going to type it out. Main characters.
Right. And the fewer the better, by the way.
Right. So in Episode 4, New Hope, main characters, obviously it starts off with Luke. And then
right. Well, you have the prologue essentially where you meet our
Meet Leia.
robot friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we meet we meet R2 and we meet 3PO.
And you get to see the foreshadowing of your antagonist, Darth Vader, which is fantastic.
Right. And then we meet Luke, then we meet Ben, then we meet Han.
Yep.
And that's it, right?
Chewie as a side character.
But Chewie's not so much of a character.
Right.
Like we don't really know what motivates Chewie in the morning.
That's right.
Right from the beginning, maybe 10 minutes into the movie, we learn that Leia is a rebel and that she's passionate.
Yep.
And unafraid.
And that first scene establishes very clearly that there's something unfair happening, that these ruthless robot-looking things are after something, and that Leia is trying to prevent it.
Yeah, she's plucky. And
Yeah.
then we got R2, who is
Cute.
loyal, cute. But in terms of like motivation, he's loyal and resourceful.
Yeah.
And so we know that about him, and like motivated, I guess. And then 3PO is obviously the comedic relief. He's
Cautious.
also cautious, and scared,
and sort of pretty neutral. Like he's fairly impartial to the whole thing. It's not like he's like, well, this is risky, but we should do this for the Alliance. No, he's like, we shouldn't do anything.
right, more selfish. R2 is more, he's principled. If it's a he, we don't even know, right?
Yeah.
And then Darth Vader is evil, ruthless, unrelenting, powerful. His motivation is he wants to crush the rebels, right?
Yeah. And by the way, he's certainly, if it's possible to be the opposite of comedic relief, that's what Darth is. Like there's nothing funny about it.
Yeah. And then we go to Luke, who wants adventure, clearly, and he's bored of farm life.
They immediately let us know that there's a conflict within him, right? He wants to go and adventure, but he knows he's going to have to stay and help his uncle probably forever.
So right away, probably in the first, I'm guessing 20 minutes, You know exactly who Leia is and what her motivation is. R2, you even have that, even though it's a droid, a trash can that makes noise. C-3PO, you basically know him as well. Darth Vader, absolutely understand his goals in life. Luke, absolutely understand. Then pretty soon we learn Ben and what his goals are. You know, he's been there, done that, you know, cares about Luke.
And yet he knows something deeper, because even though he's clearly retired from the world, whatever this deeper situation is so important, so powerful, that he's like, oh, screw it, I got to come out of retirement for this thing.
Right. You know? He's a mentor. He is good.
We also see that he's got powers. You know, we immediately see that he's
that's secondary. You know, Han has a blaster. You know, we're looking about the character, the psyche of these individuals. You know, Han, we learn, is a scoundrel. I mean, it just doesn't. He's shot first. He is selfish.
We learn he's got to get some money because he's got to go pay his debts.
Yeah, wants money to save his life. Okay.
Yes.
Ben wants to help the rebellion. Luke just wants adventure. He doesn't. He kind of wants to help the rebellion, but he more wants revenge. But wants rebellion. Darth wants to crush the rebels. R2 is loyal and resourceful and wants to help Leia, and Leia wants to rebel against Darth Vader and the Emperor. Within the first 30 seconds of meeting each character, you know exactly who they are and what their motivation is. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some people say that's like a fairy tale. You know, it's a silly, simplistic way of looking at stories. Well, that's what Star Wars is. Okay. We're not talking about Paul Thomas Anderson movie, for example.
Absolutely. You know, but at the same time, like when I watched Star Wars as a kid, I thought I understood the plot. And I'm sure you ran into this too. As I watched it, as I got older, I had so many times where I was like, oh, that's what's going on. Because in reality, there's a lot of additional details that I think if you're a little kid, they do go over your head, but it doesn't matter because they have the basics. The foundation is so entertaining and well done.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're sitting, like that whole scene where he chokes out the senator is like, I didn't know what was going on, but I thought it was a cool scene because I'm like, this guy's got choke powers. What the heck?
Right. I guess that's another way to look at it is, can a 5-year-old basically understand the broad strokes of this story? Yeah. If not, then you're not making a Star Wars movie. Kurt Cobain he basically said about his music, he said, yeah, I mean, it's complicated in a way, but a 5-year-old, I can't remember what he said, but he basically said it's like we're writing songs that can be hummed by a 5-year-old, essentially.
Yeah, he used, basically in his mind, his mental model was nursery rhymes.
Nursery rhymes, that's right.
Yeah.
You should be able to make something that's simple, but also so I made Berto put on this.
Up.
Okay, so I want to do another thing right now because we're going to crap all over this movie. And I just want to say that Berto and I are massive fans, as
we are,
evidenced by the helmet, and you can see other things. Love my speeder.
Oh, snow speeder.
I have my X-Wing fighter with Porkins inside, my blaster.
Your Han gun.
My BB-8. I have
That's back when they could make them black, by the way. They couldn't sell
No. I painted it. I painted it black.
Okay.
I have my collecting cards from 1980.
Papers, please.
The gun's upside down. So let's try to analyze episode 9 with the same kind of process.
Oh boy.
It's not unusual to have a MacGuffin, right?
Not unusual. It's not unusual to have a MacGuffin here.
Lots of movies will introduce like the thing that everyone wants to get. In episode 4, the MacGuffin was the plans. Nothing wrong so far. It becomes a disaster, but nothing wrong so far. The plans are the MacGuffin in episode 4. It goes from Leia to R2 to essentially Ben.
It's basically R2.
Well, it eventually goes to, Ben gets R2. Ben shepherds R2 into space, and they're trying to get to Alderaan, right? Yeah. Alderaan blows up, and then they get captured by the Death Star. They get out of the Death Star, and they go to the Rebel base on
Yavin.
And then they use it, right?
Yeah.
They use it to blow up the Death Star. Pretty simple. Right from the beginning, opening scene, Leia putting that in, or one of the opening scenes. And then that's the whole climax of the movie. Luke uses those plans to blow up the Death Star.
It's a very effective system of layered goals, because you have this universal goal, which is if this thing, whatever this MacGuffin is, if this thing doesn't get from point A to point B, the world ends, right? Like that's the goal. But then you have like the middle layer, which is essentially, hey, there's a princess in trouble that we need to rescue. And this is like Luke's sort of like superficial motivation, like, oh, she's cute, I should probably go rescue her, right? And then you got the third level down, which is the psyche motivation, which is Luke going, wait, I could be like the legend of my father. I could like be a hero, you know? And so it works really effectively. And like you said, it's pretty simple. The global problem is there's a ticking time bomb. You got to disarm it. It's not complicated.
So let's analyze episode 9 with the same. I know enough because I watch the Clone Wars cartoon. I know enough to know that those triangle things are maps, but
I don't know enough to know that.
No one else knows that. So
compared to, so going back to episode 4 for a second, it is true that during the first little bit, there's a portion of no dialogue. But what's happening is really clear. We see a very, very, very large ship overtaking a very, very, very small ship by comparison. And we see the people on the smaller ship desperately trying to get ready for what's probably going to be an invasion. Right now, it started good. You were seeing him like cut down, especially if you've seen the previous movies, you know, okay, this is the bad guy. This is the Darth Vader of these movies. He's cutting down these people. But then he finds the MacGuffin. There's still been no conversation. And now he's flying desperately through space. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Where are we going? Already lost.
Snoke trained you well.
I killed Snoke. I'll kill you.
My boy, I made Snoke. I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head.
Oh man, I'm sorry. This helmet's getting me very hot and bothered.
I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Like, do we take it literally? Like he's like he's just got like this impersonation capability where he can make the man of 1,000 voices. Like so literally, he has this capability where he's like, yeah, I can make perfect reproductions of other people's voices. That's my Jedi power.
Right. So this is a problem with a lot of this, I think this script, and I don't actually remember any of this. I completely, do you remember this scene?
I do. Yes.
I completely blocked all this out. I don't remember a single frame of what we've seen so far. You want to introduce Palpatine into episode 9. I think that is a terrible decision. It should have been Kylo and Rey. It should have been Kylo and Rey in a fight.
The way they set it up at the end of the previous one, and by the way, there's a lot of things I didn't like about the previous one, but they left it set up fairly well for what should have been happening in this last one.
Right. Kylo is at the top of the First Order, and he is being ruthless, and he's trying to finally snuff out the last.
And he's learned his lesson. You know, he's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
In the bad way.
Give up, Rey. I there's no good in me. I'm going to try to snuff out the last bit of the rebellion because I believe that fascism is going to help the galaxy.
Right.
I don't believe I'm a bad person. I think that I'm a good person.
Right.
But because now what you do is you get Rey to broadcast something, you know, when the rebellion gets down to just 15 people or something. And Kylo is about to, you know, snuff out the last bit of it. Rey sends out a message through the Force and
impersonating Darth Vader's voice.
And somehow, you know, the way that Leia and Luke, the way that Luke reaches out to Leia and Empire and says, Leia, come back for me. And then they come back.
Yeah.
Leia teaches Rey how to do that. And Rey reaches out to all the force sensitive creatures in the galaxy, and they all come. Then there's a battle, maybe there's other kind of adventures there, but midway through the movie, we're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Their struggles are all for nothing. They're going to die. And there's no Palpatine and there's no zombies. And, it's Kylo against Rey. It should have been Kylo against Rey.
Even if we were going to go down this path, right, which I dreaded from the moment I heard that preview, but even if we were going to go down this path, it's still not being well done, right? Because, so you were saying, okay, they showed us the MacGuffin. Okay, now we're supposed to intuit that, I guess that thing was to navigate to this place. Okay, but what's the tension with the MacGuffin now? Because he's got it and he's just navigated here. So I guess we should guess that it's going to need to get in the hands of the good guys, maybe. So like the tension's gone. Whereas in the other one, it's like, where are the plans?
Right.
Like very clear, where are the plans? And we see she sneaks the plans. They're off on the droid. Where are the plans? Very clear what we're doing with this MacGuffin.
Right. So now getting back to the original criticism is, okay, fine. You're trying to rewrite the script. It's a dumb choice, but okay. And you want to say that Palpatine was behind Snoke the whole time, which is actually not a dumb theory, but it's not pleasure. I mean, it's not very satisfying.
What's the point of going through the Snoke phase? Like,
right.
I mean, if you think about what's the first one called, the Force Awakens, we saw a secret, mysterious leader of this stuff behind the scenes. It could have been the Emperor then. It could have been, in fact, it could have still looked like Snoke in the little hologram, but it was
actually Albert Palpatine. But it's stupid because Palpatine was killed. Anyway. Yeah. So, okay, fine. You want to bring back Palpatine. That's a terrible choice. And then you want to make, and actually I think this might be a theme that we'll criticize, or I'll criticize in this movie, is they want to make it seem like Palpatine was in control the whole time. Instead of actually making a logical case for that, they make him speak a bunch of voices, which to my parents, it like, Palpatine, because my parents they don't know. It's right. So my parents are like, Palpatine was behind it the whole time. But for you and me, that doesn't make any sense. Palpatine and Darth Vader were different people. I guess you could make an argument that Palpatine was speaking through Snoke. That would be the only person that it would make sense.
Well, I think what they're trying to imply is that he's been reaching through the Force, getting into his head and literally making it sound like other Jedis. Unless he's making a metaphorical point. But then why impersonate the audio right now?
But Kylo hasn't had Darth Vader in his head.
Right.
He's never communicated. Kylo should stop in this moment and say, like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I haven't heard any of these voices.
Right, but then the Emperor goes,
I talked to Snoke, I guess, but I never met Darth Vader.
Kylo. Oh, I get that, Kylo. What I mean is, as a metaphor, I've been in your head. And then Kylo would be like,
when were you in my head?
Why did you have to make those voice impressions? That sounds really silly. Like, now I don't take you seriously at all.
Right. So the writers, if we want to call them that, they were like, well, we want to make it seem like he was behind the scenes the whole time. And so we'll have this little thing and it'll blow people's mind. Like, Palpatine was behind it the whole time. And and again, to you and me, it's just like that. When did Kylo hear the voice of Darth Vader in his head ever?
And it's actually the worst way to do these kinds of things. What I mean is, so I think I've talked to you about how I dislike the movie Signs so much, M. Night Shyamalan. And the thing I dislike so much about it is that last portion of that movie, they take things they showed us in the earlier part of the movie and they make it seem like they're really significant, but in such a trivial, dumb way. Like, that's why the little girl was putting glasses of water everywhere, because the aliens are allergic to water. But you wrote the script, so there's no mystery. You had the girl put glasses of water. There's no reason. This is worse. They didn't have the glasses of water in the previous movies. There were no glasses of water. And now, with no glasses of water, they're telling us, remember when I dropped those glasses of water on the aliens? No, I don't. Well, That was me. What?
Yeah.
I will give you so much more.
You'll die first.
I have died before. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
I'm sorry, but like, this is a combination of the Darth Vader no moment,
Yeah.
and like a B zombie movie.
Yeah. When I saw this in the theater, I remember thinking it can't be Palpatine. It's a joke. There's a ruse. There's someone is trying to. This is a dream that Kylo is having.
This would have been really good if this was an animatronic that someone was setting up to try to get in Kylo's head or something.
Or it was like one of the Force caves that Kylo is in. This is his demon that he has to face.
Yeah, right.
What could you give me?
Everything. A new empire.
Okay, so I know that in the books and the comics, some Force users, powerful Force users,
I know where you're gonna
like Palpatine, can actually reach out and grab a Star Destroyer and move it around, but not in the movies. Yoda,
and not 1,000 of them.
Right. Yoda he had the struggle to pick up an X-wing, and look how easy it is for me to pick up an X-wing. It's easy to pick it up.
Easy.
So
X-wings are the lightest thing known to man.
So right away we're like, okay, fine. He can do that. Okay. Imagine if he could do that. He wouldn't need any help. If you can use
planets.
Yeah, if you can use the Force to pick up what seems to be like tens of thousands, if you can do that, then all bets are off. Like, there's no chance in heck, because as the rebels come, you just use your Force power and you just blah, 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 blah,
Which is also such a betrayal. And granted, I actually blame Lucas for going down this avenue, but it's a betrayal of the sensibility of the first three movies, where you got the sense that, look, like the Force on a physical level can do some cool things, but that's not where the game ends, because that was the whole Yoda thing. He's like, this crude flesh, are we not? Whatever. Because if you just looked at the core powers, when Darth Vader's like, you don't understand the power. If all he meant was that he could Force choke someone, well, then he's the delusional one. But that wasn't really where it ended. It was really about the ability to influence others and influence events subtly and see into the future. All these crazy things that actually ended up being way more powerful, right? But this takes it, and episodes 1 and 3, if this takes it in that other dumb direction, which is, no, you can get more powerful to a point where you can lift thousands of ships out the water.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like okay. in the movie canon, what is the second place to this demonstration of the Force?
Jesus, you're right. Like, what?
Again, to my parents, they're like, whoa, Palpatine, I remember him from the 80s. He's powerful. To you and me, when we watch this scene, it's like, what? Now, if you're not a fan of Star Wars, and let's say you're a fan of Harry Potter, let's say in one of the movies or one of the books, like Hermione reads a special book and she is able to snap her fingers and just eliminate the Death Eaters from the world or something. You would read that and you would say, but if that book always existed, why didn't someone else find that?
Right.
And we've never heard of another wizard having that level of power before.
Right.
And why? There's another way you could have written that. There's another way you could have written the scene. He could have waved his hand in the tradition you're talking about, and then a bunch of other people fly into motion and they say, raise the fleet, because he has influence, because he's a leader. In the original trilogy, Return is when we really see him. He doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, does he use his power, other than Force lightning Luke, Does he use his powers?
No. It's all influence. All influence. We never like. That's the grotesque nature of episodes 1 through this BS. Is that the equivalent would have been in Return of the Jedi after Luke and Darth have their intense, awesome confrontation. The Emperor creakily raises himself from the chair, pulls out a little lightsaber, and starts dancing all over the place, doing cartwheels and backflips. You're like, okay, that's stupid. This takes that and invalidates everything completely because, like this is everything. Why do you need a Death Star? Why do you need these Star Destroyers?
The might of the final order will soon be ready. It will be yours if you do as I ask. Kill the girl. End the Jedi. And become what your grandfather Vader could not.
Sorry, one more thing. Does Kylo know what just happened? Like, do they have a window that lets them see out into the horizon? Or was this like, he went zzz, and Kylo's like, I don't know what just happened, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're starting to get into some desires now. Okay, so
he's
Palpatine,
telling him very clearly what he wants him to do.
Palpatine wants Rey dead because Jedi, because that makes some sense.
And no, right? Like,
and Rey isn't even really a Jedi. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like Rey's, a lot of people are trained by the Force. But Palpatine wants Rey dead, fine. He seemed really focused on Luke, so that's canon. He wants Kylo to be his servant or something, his buddy.
Right, and we can already be guessing that just like before, he probably actually wants Rey and is using Kylo. Like that could be a fair assumption, which is in fact what we are meant to believe later. But the other thing that occurs to me is the motivations of the Empire in the first movie are pretty clear. They have an empire. They want to keep it going. And the way they do it is through fear and intimidation, right? And Darth is like a zealot within the zealots, where on top of him being part of the Empire and stuff, he's also like this religious person, essentially. By the time we get to the Emperor, things do start getting a little murkier for sure, but still, the Emperor's motivations, he's the Emperor. So, and then he's got a little of that religion. Well, I want to get, because like Darth, he's a robot, but if I can get this Luke guy, that's even better, right? Okay, fair enough. Pretty simple.
Right.
But again, in this case, it's like, what's this zombie's motivations? He just wants to rule the world again? Like, I guess.
Right. It's obvious. In episode 4, good versus evil. Everyone, I'm typing this out, everyone are their empire or rebellion.
You will rule all the galaxy as the new Emperor. But beware. She is not who you think she is.
Who is she?
So we've said this in other episodes. And by the way, if you're watching this and you don't like Star Wars, God bless you. I wouldn't watch this. Plus, it's just embarrassing to nerd out on something that doesn't matter. But the fact that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, is that what it was, right? Just so dumb. No, she's just another person, which is the whole point, which was what they were leading up to at the end of Last Jedi was you don't have, that was the whole point of calling it The Last Jedi. You do not have to be a Jedi to do good. You do not have to be part of this special order, this elite special order.
And kind of really an elite family. You know?
Right. To rise up and do good against fascism. Like you can be, and it's grassroots. It would have been beautiful. It would have made all the sense in the world. Episode 7, it would have made all of it would have even gone back to Phantom Menace in a way. It's like you don't have to be trained by other Jedi. You just have to know right and wrong and stand up You know, it's the end of Dunkirk when the Fisher guys come across and pick up the retreating English and UK soldiers. It's the everyman. It changes it from the elite order, which is what we start with Phantom Menace, where we have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in this
no more kings
tradition.
and queens. Now we have democracy.
Now we have democracy. It would have made all the sense in the world. And making Rey just another person is like, she's the beginning of that whole movement. And of course, she would be the perfect spokesperson of like, I am no one. You remember the Jedi? I am nobody. Right. I was born to no one. I was nothing. And all of you other nobodies come to us because we need to all fight together against the First Order. It would have been a glorious story moment if any idiot could have written that script.
Well, in fact, an idiot did, because I'm being mean, of course. But look, there's, again, a ton of things I didn't like about the second one in this series. But that was a very bold and interesting choice by Ryan, whatever his name is,
Johnson.
Johnson. That was like, okay, well, she's no one. I don't know if he meant to keep it that way. I don't know what they're...
No, I'm pretty sure. He lobbed that ball over the plate. He was like, I am giving you Act 3, which is obvious from that last scene where that kid reaches out for the broom and he catches it. That kid is a nobody. He's a little slave on an unknown casino.
It's just a little slave with high midichlorian count.
And it would have been perfect. It just would have been perfect. Leia passes the torch to Rey. Rey becomes the leader. The masses follow, and Kylo and his First Order, they can't push back the grassroots population. They have all the technology and they have all the motivation and the organization, but they can't keep people down. That would have just been a beautiful moment. And then they made this pile of crap and made her Palpatine's granddaughter. I mean, we've never even known Palpatine had kids.
And again, it's another one of those, like, I was the one that put the glasses with the water. We didn't see glasses with the water. What you're talking about doesn't even apply to anything.
Yeah, and it's not even like in the cartoon. It's nowhere. Like, it's not even appealing to some corner of the fandom that knew that Palpatine had kids, right?
That's a good point. You could imagine, which always irks me with stuff like that. But fine, it's like, oh, you didn't read the book series such and such. It was called Palpatine's Family. Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah. But that's not even a thing.
You ever gonna go?
He can't beat us every time.
Yeah, apparently he does.
How does he do it?
This guy right here, it's because he cheats.
I'm kidding.
Oh, come on, take your
You're
turn.
250
You're
years
taking
old.
forever.
Of
That's
course you're
cheating. That's
better
why we
than
think
us.
you're cheating.
See, I like this stuff.
Don't worry.
We're not going to turn it off.
I gotta say, so there were things I did appreciate. This is maybe why when you asked me, I didn't give it a 1. I actually liked the little interplays with this crew. I wanted, this is what was good about the first movie and what I wanted to see more of in the second movie and was robbed of it, basically. And in this one, they actually gave me these bits and pieces. It's just in the middle of a pile of other stuff.
Right.
T-5 R2.
Julio, good to see you. You got something for us? From a new ally. A spy in the First Order.
A spy? Who?
I don't know. Transfer the message. Get it to Leia. Hurry.
Okay, so this is another thing that's difficult.
This is so dumb.
So first off, before we get to the dumb part here, I'll let you go on that. So episode 4 starts with that big action scene with the ship boarding the other ship, and we see all that stuff. But then we get a little break, like we get a wave down where we see Tatooine, we see Luke, we see, right? Like there's a different pace moment. Here, we just went from like this intense chop him up, then flying through space, then get to the zombie moment. And now the ship is flying and now there's some emergency. Yeah. We haven't had we had like a 10-second moment with the chess playing. That was it. So it's really hard to get situated. Like, where are we? What's happening?
Totally.
What are you doing?
Light speed skipping. How do you know how to do that? Yeah, well, Rey's not here, is she? Last jump, maybe forever. Hold on!
In my take of light jump skipping is like Poe is potentially the best pilot in the galaxy. If someone's going to be able to pull it off, it's him. And it's dangerous. You know, you get the sense like it had a peril to it. And okay, you know, right. Now I don't know what in the world they were doing.
That's it. That's exactly it. Is that as an action sequence, it's clearly well directed in that sense. Like the only thing I didn't like has nothing to do with the action is that blobby thing they have in the ship wasn't working for me at all. But other than that, like it's a well directed action scene. It's like boom, boom, da, da, da. But like the two big bugs with it are, number one, it's been nonstop so far. We're like, how long has it been? We're 10 minutes in. We haven't stopped moving. And two, we don't know what's happening. Why are they having to light skip? Like if that scene had happened later in the movie when we understood the stakes and what was up, probably a lot more effective.
Yeah. All Poe needed to say was, we need to get this for Leia, like, or some kind of state, like, Leia needs this. We can't disconnect it. Leia told us we need to, you know, like just something to connect us to the bigger picture. Anyway.
That's actually a really good point, because one of the things they had a great dynamic in the first set of movies. There was always a tension in the Millennium Falcon, which is great. It added viewer tension. For example, in the first movie, there's always a tension between Luke and Han, and a little bit with Obi-Wan, because Han's like, these weirdos, right? And then later in Empire, Leia and Han, and they're always at each other's throats, right? And it's like, good, there's a little tension. Here, like they're all in agreement. Everyone knows what's up except the viewer, and so there's no like inner tension. And as far as whatever the actual tension is, you're like, I don't know, they're just being chased.
Yeah.
Be with me.
So this is just a stylistic thing, and it's fine. But in Empire, Luke was being trained by Yoda. He could pick up kind of like 6 rocks, and he couldn't do this with rocks. Partially because they didn't have CG back then, so they wouldn't have been able to do this as an effect. Why do we need to see Rey as some like level 10 in relation to Luke's level 2? Why couldn't you just have it be down to earth, if you will, right. Literally?
Is she levitating or is she on something?
No, she's levitating perfectly and moving.
So she's flying, like she can fly.
She can fly. It's 2 dumbasses going, it's Beavis and Butthead going, wouldn't it be cool if she could like fly and stuff? Yeah. Yeah. You're trying to remind the people who don't remember who she is that she's a Jedi. Okay. Why that? Why does she have to be in the Marvel universe? Why can't she be in the Star Wars universe, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good point. Well, as an example, a down to earth example, I've been watching the Cobra Kai TV show.
Oh, is it good?
It's actually really enjoyable. I mean, it's got a little bit of, let me put it this way. It's almost like an 80s cheesy TV show, but it's great because it continues the story 40 years later or whatever it is. And it
Ralph
does a
Macchio's
really,
the bad guy now, right?
Yeah, it does a really good job of deconstructing that whole situation and stuff. But what I was going to say is they could have done the same thing where like now the karate kids that are learning from Ralph or whatever and the other guy, they can do, you know, backflips off a building, full parkour, and they don't do that. They actually keep it pretty basic. They're still punching and kicking and hurting each other.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the next level. Right. It doesn't have to be mind-blowing. It could just be her sitting on the ground or doing a one-handed handstand like Luke. And maybe she's raising twice as many rocks, but she's still kind of like, make her out to be a human being instead of a god. That's why Marvel movies, they can really lose me sometimes when I go, oh, they're gods, even Iron Man. It's like, oh, they can't, no one can hurt them. So why do I care?
Like the power progression between episode 4 to 5 to 6 is really reasonable.
Yeah.
You see the difference between 4 and 5. It's like, oh, okay. So like, not only can Darth choke someone, they can throw things at each other. Okay, that makes sense, right? But a lot of it is more like mental games. Like Luke can see a little into the future, but the possibilities are, it's not a future that's set in stone. Like it's that kind of stuff. And then by episode 6, it's like, okay, there's a new power, but it's only this Emperor dude.
Right.
And it's not a undefeatable power.
Right.
He can do these lightning things. Yeah. And it wasn't even clear, like, because they didn't come out and spell it out. Oh yeah, when you get to level 70 in the Force, you get lightning. It was more like the Emperor can do this. Maybe that's because he's so evil. Who knows?
And we don't even know if the lightning kills you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It did. I mean, he did it a lot.
Yeah, he was lightning Luke a lot.
Right.
Ugh.
Rey, be patient.
I'm starting to think it isn't possible to hear the voices of the Jedi who came before.
Nothing's impossible.
Nothing's impossible. I'm going to run the training course.
So one, I don't like the use of her. It's clear that those are CG scenes that they took her from another movie and they inserted the dialogue in there. But anyway,
I didn't actually catch that, but
it's not too bad. But okay, but now we know Rey. So Rey is what she wants. She just said the first statements out of her mouth is wants to connect with
the old
dead Jedi.
Yep.
Okay. So
now we don't know why, right?
And it's also kind of a dumb plot because the Rebel Force is supposed to be tiny compared to the First Order.
This is actually a really problematic situation because, again, by the time we got to Return of the Jedi, we knew where we stood entirely. The Empire has won, basically. Han is all but gone. Like he's gone. Luke's lost an arm almost. The Empire has won. We're screwed. We're down to almost nothing, which is kind of like where they left it at the end of the last one, give or take. And so when Return starts, again, we got to rescue Han, and then we got to go try to see what we can do about this crazy revitalized Empire because we're kind of screwed. Here, we now have a new thing that wasn't there at the end of the last one. It's like if at the beginning of Return, we find out that the Emperor is not actually the main guy in charge. There's another dude that we got.
Right. Okay. Exactly. So that is exactly what happened. Imagine if in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, there is yet another bad guy on top of the Emperor who has a whole other army of bad guys and ships.
He's like, you remember all those holograms? Those were me. It's like, okay. My heart was broken in episode whatever it was,
2 or 3.
Yeah, when they have all the little kids with their stupid blaster shields, with their little lightsabers, basically almost mauling each other to death with those things.
Well, explain to the audience why this is stupid.
Okay, so episode 4, we're just being introduced to this universe. Ben is trying to find ways to teach Luke about the Force, but they're stuck on the Millennium Falcon. It's not exactly a Jedi training facility. And Luke is having trouble trusting himself. But Ben is trying to find different ways. Okay, one of the things is they have this little practice robot, which sends little shocks. And we don't know why they had that. Maybe that was something Ben had, or maybe it was just something. We don't know, right? But fine. And that thing, Luke is training to stop it with his lightsaber. And he's failing. So then Ben looks around and he's like, I've got it. So he grabs a blast shield helmet, which is meant for fighter pilots, so that when they're going to shoot things and they're going to explode, this blast shield comes up and that they don't go blind. He puts it on Luke's head and says, no, this is not standard Jedi training procedure. It's just, I want you to like try to let go of your eyes and stuff so you can feel the Force. Great lesson, ends up working, great. So fast forward, which is not fast forwarding, rewind time.
Yeah.
Apparently, no, Ben wasn't improvising. This is standard Jedi training operation for little Jedi babies back in the old days. They would have these blast shields and they would put them on their little heads and they'd have them stand 2 feet apart from each other, holding real lightsabers, going swish, 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 swish.
And it's like, why not a blindfold? I mean,
and so now they just keep going. They're tripling down.
Okay, no, actually, no, this is worse, Berto. This is worse because at no point would Rey have ever learned that the past Jedi used this.
I mean, it's like the worst possible kind of fan service.
Yeah.
Join me.
You killed him.
By the way, we still haven't had a significant downbeat where we talk a little bit. Like it was briefly, she's meditating, then she comes
then boom,
down
she's running and
then the conversation with Leia, which granted was probably out of necessity because of what happened to the actress, but it's one line. So we still actually haven't had a meaningful like, what's up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and then
in this scene, we're given some story that they can connect through Darth Vader, I guess. Kylo can mess with her concentration level, and also kind of pull her into the dark side. You saw her kind of lose her cool. She started to get more angry. She started destroying things. She was less focused.
I'm just not feeling myself. I know it looks like I'm making excuses.
Don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are.
I think I'm just tired, that's all. I will earn your brother's saber. One day. No, you can't do it for me.
Never underestimate a droid.
Yes, Master.
Why doesn't Rey feel like she deserves it? Do we know?
Yeah, you're right. Because it was just because of that one scene just now.
She said she was tired. I just want to say, like, in an anemic script, the best line you can have, well, I guess I'm tired.
I'm not myself.
Here's my lightsaber.
Yeah.
You know, tell me when I've earned it, because I'm tired.
That's a great point. Imagine the movie actually opens with this whole sequence, but done a little better, right? Because even without the chase in space, like this is what happens. And no, it's not that she's tired. It's something more meaningful. Like I think that what they're setting up right now, I definitely am more comfortable with this, even with the flaws. To your point,
because we're connecting with our main character,
vanilla.
You know,
yeah, because we're connecting. Yeah,
she wants something. Okay,
it's just very vanilla right now.
Yeah. So Luke, even if you went to episode 6, you know, what does Luke want? Well, Luke wants to save his friend Han, and he wants to save his friends, and he wants to defeat the Empire. He's not trying to earn a lightsaber back. He's not tired. He's not, you know, it's simple. You understand, you know, when he goes back to Dagobah, you understand why. He's trying to finish his training, and then And
by the way, they could have totally done that if they wanted to, because, you know, a line they could have taken is like, look, at the end of the Empire, Strikes Back, Luke has been defeated physically, mentally, everything. So sure, you could have imagined that the Return of the Jedi starts with his doubting himself. I've lost my hand. Now, I don't know how, that probably wouldn't have been as exciting, but they would have earned the right to start it that way. Right now, it is tough because as far as I remember, it didn't end with her being defeated in any way.
Well, aside from the fact that she had to retreat with Poe, but no, she arrived and helped everyone get away.
She killed Snoke along with...
Kylo killed Snoke.
Oh, Kylo killed Snoke.
And then her and Rey and Kylo defeated the Red Guard guys.
Yeah.
And then Rey and Kylo fought, and it was a stalemate, and Rey ran away.
Yeah, but she didn't get her hand chopped off.
Yeah.
She didn't have...
She should be quite satisfied with how that went. She killed Snoke. She tried to influence Kylo to come to the good side. It didn't work, and she got away.
And she was clearly at least as powerful as Kylo, probably in her mind still like, I could have gotten. Right.
She was head to head with him.
Whereas Luke was completely defeated.
Right. And then she manages to get to the cave system with the rebels, and she lifts all of those rocks.
Yeah.
This glorious moment. That was her big moment. She saves all the people, and then at the beginning, I'm tired.
That's a great point. So the other thing is the character arc for Luke, the overarching character arc, which, I think we can agree, it wasn't like it was well thought out from the very start, but it did end up getting developed. In Empire Strikes Back, Yoda tells him, look, you're not ready. And what you see in the future isn't necessarily what's going to be. So like you're not ready. If you go right now, you could jeopardize everything. But Luke doesn't listen. And he goes anyways. And what's crazy is if he hadn't gone, they would have still frozen Han. And so like that part and they would have given him so he would have still gone to Jabba.
Yeah, no, Luke did nothing. On Bespin, nothing, everything would have been the same.
So his character arc was like, dude, you haven't earned it. You're not there yet. And in the Return of the Jedi, he finally hits that point where he's like, nope, here's my lightsaber. I'm not giving in to your thing. I'm not going to go with my impulses, my impulsive instinct.
And that's him following Yoda's teaching, which is that, sure, you can fight, but there's so many other things to the Force that are so much bigger than that.
What is Rey's character arc right now?
Right. Maybe it progresses from this point forward, but at the very least, right from the bat, you and I are like, wait, why? Why does she feel like she doesn't earn it? She has been tremendous up until this point, especially events just before this point. Right. Leia should be like, dude, you got to have this weapon. If we're going to win this fight, you don't have time to play around here. Like, even if you don't feel like you earn it, you got to have this weapon because you're the only one that can really wield this. And so take it back.
And by the way, my brother could never do the little trick you were just pulling with levitating with all the rocks. So,
So, take it back and, drink a cup of coffee and stop being tired.
You light speed skip?
Yeah, well, it got us back here.
Oh, the compressor's down.
Oh, I know. I was there. Every time.
You can't light speed skip the Falcon.
Actually, turns out you can. We just landed, okay?
What happened?
Bad news, that's what happened.
No spy.
No spy.
Did we make contact with a spy or not?
There's a mole in the first order and they sent us a message.
You dropped a tree on him?
You blew both subalterns.
Well, you know what? Maybe you should have been out there with us.
You know I want to be out there with you.
Yeah, but you're not. You're here training. For what? You're the best fighter we have. We need you. Out there, not here. Junior.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a conflict here. Poe he's a fighter. So let's flesh out his character.
A fighter, not a lover.
He's a fighter. He's a doer. Rey is tired. So I have wants to connect with dead Jedi, wants to train. She's affected by Kylo. She's tired and she wants to earn the lightsaber and head in the clouds. Poe is a rebel. He's a fighter. He's a doer and blunt, I guess. And Finn is kind of the the peacemaker, I guess you could call him, because he wasn't yelling at Rey. He was more like kind of being more nice about things.
Yeah, Finn's like actually a little more pragmatic about things. He agrees, but he's also not getting so emotional about it.
Right.
In spite of everything else, I've from the first movie, I've enjoyed the dynamic between these actors. Yeah. I like Finn and Poe. I like them with her, like their little exchanges. Like that's fun. That's the kind of stuff between Han and Leia. Like that's neat.
Yeah. Okay. So the primary criticism from Poe to Rey is your head's in the clouds. You got to be practical. There's things to do.
We need you out there.
Poe is a doer, and Finn is a follower, I guess you would say.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
So dumb. Somehow Palpatine returned. That's what you put in the rough draft. Like, okay, well, somehow he returns. We don't really, we don't have an explanation.
The dead speak.
Yeah.
So basically they kind of gave up, right? They threw their hands up in the air and said, and I don't know if, for all we know, it was the writers sort of doing this on purpose. Like, you want us to, okay, fine. Somehow Palpatine's back.
It cannot be. The Emperor is dead.
Dark science. Cloning. Secrets only the Sith knew.
Why? Why would the guy from Lost know this?
Yeah.
They were laughing themselves when they were writing this, right? They're like, look, more than half the participants of this little conversation are going to represent the audience's feelings. He's going to be like, well, no way, he's dead. I was there, or my grandpa was there, whatever. He's dead. And that's the audience, man. But we'll have the guy from Lost say, I came from Mordor, and, one doesn't simply walk into Mordor. And let me tell you, those guys have some dark hearts. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because what's the alternative? There's no other alternative, because if you provide a explanation-ish, none of us are going to buy it anyway.
Right.
So I guess if you're going to commit to a stupid choice, you might as well just do this.
His followers have been building something for years. The largest fleet the galaxy's ever known. He calls it the Final Order. In 16 hours, attacks on all free worlds begin.
The writers were like, we need the rebels to understand the peril. I don't understand why the First Order and Kylo Ren isn't the peril. I mean, none of these people should be like, oh, these are dark times. It's already dark times. The rebels have been, remember when they were being picked off one by one at the end of episode 8? It's already dark times. The First Order is terrible. They are powerful. Right. They should be going, huh, well, maybe they'll fight against each other then. I guess that'll be good.
At least that, if not, then we should give up right now and do like a little orgy or something, because we're done.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, they shouldn't be like, oh, man, now that's tough. I mean, it was tough at the end. They were down to like 25 rebels at the end of the last movie. Anyway, so that's why they needed the spy, was they were like, okay, we need to introduce the peril of our new script that's going completely off script from every other movie thus far. How are they going to find out? And they're sort of brainstorming, and they're like, well, how about if there's a spy, like some sort of spy that tells them the information, and our good guys contact the spy and they get the information. That would have been an interesting scene of them actually like trying to sneak in, and they actually get in touch with an actual stormtrooper spy or whatever it is. That would have been okay, actually. I would have been okay if they would have been like, it's just an unnamed spy. So they needed to do that. But then they're like, well, who's the spy? I could just see them, the gears turning in their idiot heads of like, well, what if it was Hux? That doesn't make any sense. Hux is not motivated to be a spy.
Let me ask you something.
He's essentially the top guy of the First Order at this point.
I totally agree. These are not actual idiots. Like, these are very smart, accomplished individuals that have put forward interesting plots for other shows and movies and things. How did this happen?
And then I heard their process. Well, what we did was we sat down at a table and we wrote down all the different scenes we thought would be cool to see.
Uh-huh.
and we on Post-its, and we put them on this big board. And then once we had all these different little scenes that we wanted, then we pieced together a story. So, Berto, you're a story writer. You're writing a book.
I'm a struggling story writer.
I'm sure there's not a single class of writing a novel that says that's how you write a story.
No, actually, that's terrible because there are two main schools. One of them is that it's all about you find the story through your characters. So you have to like really work out your characters and see where the dialogue takes you. That's like how Stephen King writes.
And basically the way you write that is like you sit down to write the story and you kind of have a general guide of like what's going to happen, but you don't really know. And it's almost like improv. You're like, okay, then we do this. Okay, what would happen then? Okay, well, then they would do this. And then what would they want to do then? And then, you just sort of walk yourself through improving the story as you go.
And it especially helps if it's a self-contained story, like a lot of Stephen King stories, even though it's kind of like all part of a universe, like, you can read a book and never read any of the other books and you'll get the full story. But then there's a whole other way to do it, which is the very standard, and which is like you outline, and you, in fact, if you want to be a little more methodical about it, you can use the 3-act structure, or you can use a whole bunch of different methods. I have never heard of you're just going to write down random scenes that sound fun and you're going to shuffle them together.
Yeah. Unless it's like Scary Movie 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a skit-based movie. But even then, as you know, the best ones of those still have a beginning, middle, end.
There's still some kind of arc to the story. Yeah.
Exegol does not appear on any star chart, but legend describes it as the hidden world of the Sith.
There were always whispers. It's holding to death.
So Palpatine's been out there all this time, pulling the strings.
Always in the shadows from the very beginning.
If we want to stop him, we must find him. We must find Exegol.
General.
He's on this planet. It's secret. You can't find it. And there's a big fleet there. What are they thinking they're going to do? Because if they go there, the giant fleet is there. So they're going right into the home base. They're going to headquarters. Presumably the First Order has a headquarters. You're not champing at the bit to get there, right? You're a small rebel force.
Great point.
Like, why would you go, okay, let's find it? Why wouldn't you be like,
good point.
Why wouldn't you
I
be
wish
like,
someone had raised their hand and been like, wait. So how come our plan yesterday wasn't to go invade the First Order?
Yeah.
Because then someone would be like, well, we can't do that. There's like 5 of us.
Yeah.
Could have even, this would have been actually neat. Okay, so the preview has the evil laugh, has people like me pissed off. You start the movie, the crawl actually says what it said, which when I read the crawl, I actually was hopeful. I forgot to mention that. Because when you read the crawl, it actually says what sounds like the Emperor. What sounds like the Emperor. So I thought, okay. And in fact, I would bet good money that there was a time during their writing where they weren't sure they were going to pull that trigger, right? Because anyways, what I think could have been great is that, yes, fine. Someone realized they could compete against Kylo. Maybe it was maybe it's even Huxley. Huxley's like, right? Like he's like, how do I get? And so he gets some like rogue operation to pretend like the Emperor is back.
Yeah.
Which of course would drive Kylo into a frenzy. It would scare the bejesus out of these people. And then now it makes sense why he'd be a spy. He's not a spy because he's trying to help these people. He's trying to feed them false information. He wants to get Kylo to go fight these guys thinking he's fighting the other, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Now we've got a movie.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, I love that. So Kylo is trying to get Palpatine. These guys, you give them information that says you got to get here by this particular date or else all bets are off.
Right.
They coincide there. Kylo and them fight. Meanwhile, Hux is behind, the Emerald Curtain, laughing and going like, yes, because I hate Kylo because he threw me around in episode 8 all the time. And I will be powerful and I will rule the world.
Yes.
And then, BB-8 goes and pulls the curtain back. And then they all kind of look, and now we're in a weird moment. Now it's like, wait, so Kylo is now looking at Hux, and maybe a bunch of loyal
love it.
lieutenants to Hux are behind him. Kylo has some of his loyal people, and then you have the rebels. So now you have 3 factions,
and everyone's questioning everything. I love it. This
and
could go
then
so
the
many good
central
ways.
question is, what is Kylo going to do?
Yeah.
Is he going to side with Rey, or is he going to side with Hux, or is he going to kill Hux? Maybe he kills Hux. I don't know. Like, that would be an interesting.
You could have had so many ways to go with it without actually literally introducing both the actual Emperor's zombie, undefeatable fleet that doesn't even make sense how it was even built. Fine. All that's BS, right?
Yeah. Actually, let's stop there because I'm too angry and I'm too hot and I'm getting sweaty. So,
all right.
Everyone out there, if you're still watching, my God, I am sorry. It's just 2 old nerds, shaking fist at Palpatine. And everyone out there, may the Force be with you, because
you deserve it.